You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there for tuning in and subscribing to the show wherever they get their podcast. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. So who's in need of a bounce back season for the Oklahoma Sooners to be a bounce back team in 2025? Because in order for Brent Venables to be here for 2026, the Sooners need a bounce back season, and they're going to need it from guys on both sides of the football, because I think you're going to need improvement on both sides of the football. I think the defense is still going to be really good. I just need them to take a step, right? All right, so let's look at the offensive side of the ball first. I think Deion Burks, that's a dude that is in need of a bounce back season. He came to Oklahoma with a ton of hype, and for good reason. The playmaking ability, the big time, scoring threat that he can be. He started the season strong. Obviously, the injury limited him. But I need my guy to be back and be healthy for 100% of the season. For Oklahoma's offense to be able to do what it needs to do, you need a guy with that kind of dynamic ability leading the way in the pass game for your receiver core. Because he can do so much. He can take the top off the defense. He can win after the catch. And if he is healthy, that's going to open up so much for everybody else in the offense. I think offensive line, you could name a ton of guys, but Jacob Sexton, this is your time. This is the time for you to take that step. You're a 4-star prospect coming out of high school. A lot of people really like what they've seen out of you. And yes, injuries happen, but injuries have been kind of part of your story. It's time to get some good injury luck. Now, you can't control that. Can't control any of it. But now's the time to get some good injury luck and have a healthy season, because the Oklahoma offensive line is going to need you. If they want to be better, they need their best players available and playing. I think Taylor Tatum's another guy. The ability is there, right? He's got that home run ability, a dude that can win anytime that he touches the ball. He can create a big play for the offense. But man, he had a hard time holding on to the ball. Very hard time. And so much so that, after one fumble against Alabama, he was out of the game and you didn't see him again. Dude's got to be able to hold on the ball. If you want to be a big-time running back at a big-time university and you want to see 15 to 20 touches a game, you've got to protect the football. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. The ability is there. And he could be a pass-catching threat. I think in the Ben Arbuckle offense, you'll see a guy like a Taylor Tatum, a Javonte Barnes, a Torrey Blaylock, maybe even Gavin Sawchuk. You'll see them finally try to unlock the running backs a little bit in the passing game. Xavier Robinson is a good pass catcher. We did not use our running backs enough in the passing game, just in the swing game. Like, throw a swing pass to your running back, let him get into the open field and see if he can make a guy miss. Create some easy yardage for your offense that can't create any yardage on a regular basis and see what happens. But there was very little of that. But Ben Arbuckle, I think we're going to see them use the running backs a whole lot more in the passing game, because that's just what the air raid offense does. They spread the field, use a lot of the quick game, get their best players the ball in space, and allow them to go make plays. Taylor Tatum, skill-wise, is one of Oklahoma's best players. Now, that fumble rating, that's dropped off pretty significantly after the 2024 season. But if he can go and he can relearn how to hold onto the football and get a little bit tougher at the tackle point, then I don't see any reason why he can't have a productive season for Oklahoma this next year. Because we saw what he's able to do when he does get the ball in his hands and he's not dropping it. He can make some plays for you. Defensively, look, there are fewer guys to choose from on this side, right? Because everybody played pretty well. But defensively, I'm gonna say your cornerback position. I think the way Eli Bowen's season ended against LSU, that's gonna be, leaving a bad taste in his mouth. But I think he'll continue to improve. I think Jacoby Johnson, kind of the way the Missouri game ended for him. But these are young guys that they played well, and so to say like Eli needs a bounce back, I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think that's a guy that can continue to improve his trajectory. There's not many guys on defense that you can point to. I think special teams needs a bounce back season. It didn't really do much for you. The punting game was good. Your kicking game was solid, but you didn't get anything out of the return game. And that's got to change. You've got to find something in the return game. You can't be a net negative. And too many times Oklahoma's special teams units have been a negative for this team. They've got to be a positive, especially if you want to play defensive football. You got to get something out of your special teams units from time to time. And I think Brent Venables, as a head coach, he needs a bounce back season. I think he made some really good decisions in 2024. There were some times where, you could debate whether it was a good decision or not. I like some of the aggressiveness from this team. At the same time, when you're a defensive team, it's okay to take a field goal from time to time. It's okay to go, like the Navy game, right? The Navy game is a prime example. You get down into scoring territory and 3rd and 1, you don't hit it. I get wanting to go on 4th and 1 and get that first down, extend the drive, try to get 7 on the drive and go up 21-0. But when you got stuffed on 3rd and 1, you might want to just go ahead and take some points. Take the 3, go up 3 scores. You're up 17-0 now, and you're not giving the ball back to Navy. And maybe you're not having to go for it on 4th and 1 at midfield. Just a thought. I think how this team prepares needs a bounce back season. Too many guys were lost to injury during fall camp, during spring ball, and it hindered their development. The training room needs a bounce back season. I know we got some guys like Hassan McCullough, Troy Everett back from injuries during the year, but dude, they lost so many guys. Emmett Jones, I think that's a guy that needs a bounce back season. His wide receiver core was decimated, sure. At the same time, the guys he recruited weren't ready to go for the most part. You didn't have a Zion Kearney ready to go. You didn't have Ivan Carrion ready to go until later in the season. But you got to have your room top to bottom ready to play because you never know what's going to happen. Guys got to be prepared to play week 1, whether they're the number 10 wide receiver on the depth chart or the number 1 wide receiver on the depth chart. You got to have everybody ready to play. And I think in that vein, he needs to have a bounce back season. Same with Joe John Finley. Tight end has done very little for you during the last 2 seasons. And it can't go absent. And if you're going to get anything out of Devon Mitchell, if you're going to get anything out of Caden Helms or Cade McIntyre, Joe John Finley, you got to develop some guys. You've got to. The talent is there. They've got talented dudes. And so, listen, as much of it is on the players, these coaches, man, they've got to find a way to get through to the players in order to help them find that next level and take their game to the next level. But again, it's going to be a huge season for Oklahoma football. Either it's going to be one that lets them go or earns them a playoff spot, and we're feeling really good about the direction of this team, or we're back to square one and going to the drawing board. And Joe Castiglione and Joseph Harris are looking for another head coach. Obviously, I hope it's the playoff team because I would really love to cover a Brent Venables Oklahoma team that went to the playoffs. I think they could do some damage as we're seeing Ohio State and Notre Dame do. You get deep into the season, you grind away games, and you play defensive football, and that gives you a chance to win football games as long as you have an offense that's actually functional. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. We're also all over social media. So follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at Locked On Sooners, also on Threads, and follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. You can follow me at John 9 Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. But until next time, I'm John Williams, Boomer Sooner.